Welcome back. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed total victory against Hamas in his address to a joint session of Congress yesterday. Netanyahu delivered the speech on Capitol Hill. This was his fourth address to Congress since 1996. Dozens of Democrats skipped the event, including Vice President Kamala Harris and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. In his nearly 1 hour-long speech, Netanyahu defended Israel's military campaign in Gaza, calling it a battle for the survival of the Jewish state. He also denounced the criticisms he's received both here in the U.S. and internationally, specifically calling out pro-Palestinian protesters.
We meet today at a crossroads of history. Our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization. For the forces of civilization to triumph, America and Israel must stand together. Because when we stand together, something very simple happens. We win, they lose. Many anti-Israel protesters, many choose to stand with evil. They stand with Hamas. They stand with rapists and murderers. They refuse to make the simple distinction between those who target terrorists and those who target civilians, between the democratic state of Israel and the terrorist thugs of Hamas. For all we know, Iran is funding the anti-Israel protests that are going on right now outside this building. Not that many, but they're there, and throughout the city. Well, I have a message for these protesters. When the tyrants of Tehran, who hang gays from cranes and murder women for not covering their hair, are praising, promoting, and funding you, you have officially become Iran's useful idiots.
There were some pretty significant protests nearby at Union Station there in Washington. Heavy security in place throughout the city, including near the White House, where Netanyahu will be later today. Joining us now here on set, former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO, retired four-star Navy Admiral James Stavridis. He is Chief International Analyst for NBC News. Thank you, Admiral, for being here. Let's just start with your reactions to what you heard from the Prime Minister.
Three big things stand out to me because he really had three audiences. Number one, he was talking to Tehran. I think this is underappreciated. He was signaling a resolution. He was following up on the attacks against the Iranian proxies, the Houthis, a very direct message to Tehran. You heard it throughout the speech. I think, secondly, quite clearly, he's speaking to the Israeli public. He's in trouble at home, Jonathan. You know that. Everyone knows that. He's trying to shore up a shaky coalition. He's trying to keep his right wing, his base, in place, and at the same time, work with the hostage families. That's not going well. He tried to do that, but frankly, I didn't hear much in that speech that makes me hopeful about a hostage release or a ceasefire. Could still come. Let's give it a couple more days. And then third audience, which he alluded to at the end, is right here in the United States. And remarkable that Bibi Netanyahu ends up being the one foreign leader who speaks 4 times directly to the American public. Kind of extraordinary, speaks to the depth of the relationship with the U.S. and Israel, but also speaks to the survival qualities of the Prime Minister. There are some impressions for you, Jonathan.
Yeah, certainly some of the response was pretty partisan. He was much more warmly welcomed by Republicans and Democrats. We should know, we actually just got some news in here from the defense minister in Israel who says the IDF has recovered 5 bodies of 5 hostages there. Learn more. We'll have more as the day goes on. But
yeah, just to do the numbers there, as you know, originally 250-ish hostages. About half of those have been recovered alive or dead. Probably 100 still there. of which I'd say about a third tragically have been killed. So there's still a handful to come up.
And certainly the war continues. Senior U.S. officials said yesterday that a ceasefire deal was close, but they acknowledged there were some pretty significant hurdles still to go. It seems like it's been close for a while. And I've got new reporting today that President Biden, when he sits down with the prime minister, he's going to take a bit of a tougher tone, really pushing Netanyahu to say, look, we need to get a deal done and done soon. What do you think?
I think he will do that. Our president. I hope he does. My hat's off to the Tony Blinken, Jake Sullivan, above all, Ambassador Bill Burns. They have racked up the frequent flyer miles. They are trying desperately to get this done. I think their chances are about even right now, which is as high as it has been. The president's voice speaking to the prime minister could help.
And lastly, and briefly, what is your take as someone who studies the world? How does the globe respond to what we've seen here in the United States in the last week or so with a peaceful transfer of power, if you will, with President Biden saying, look, I'm going to relinquish power. I'm not going to run again. I'm going to tap my vice president. I want her to go in my stead. It certainly stands in stark contrast to what we saw on January 6th.
It absolutely does. And I think I can talk to my friends in Europe, my friends in Asia, and say democracy can work. It will work here in the United States of America. Democracy, don't bet against us.
Of course, November election looms on the horizon. Retired four-star Navy Admiral James Stavridis. Admiral, thank you for being in today. We really appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.